Good morning. Welcome back to Happy Apple Core Homestead. Today we are harvesting these bush beans. These are all for Frenching. When you harvest the bush beans, you want to harvest them when they're, young and tender. It's late in the season, but they are still in bloom here a little bit. My crop has been virtually decimated by voles. There is one of their handy dandy holes. I do have some traps out, but they come from all over and they're wise to me, and I just have to share the crop with them. But anyway, you can see that so many of them are just bitten off at the tip. I imagine I've got rats too, but voles are my main pest that I have here. So you could still eat this if you just wanted to cut it off, but I leave them in hopes that maybe they'll eat the whole thing. And I'll just take I'll take the full ones with the nice tips. Hi! Look at all these green beans! Okay, we got a ton. I'm very pleased with how many we got despite the vole damage. We're going to be Frenching these and then canning them, but first we need to wash all of these and head and tail them. Once that's done, we'll run them through the Frenching machine. The green beans have been washed, the ends have been cut, and we are now ready to put them through the Frencher. And that's what this contraption is here. Now we're going to take these beans and just a few at a time, because that's all that will fit in here, and we're just going to run them through the machine. Just like that. And mine is well used and can probably use a little oil in here somewhere. It's kind of squeaky. But that's it. That's all there is to Frenching green beans. The beans have been Frenched. Check it out. Aren't they pretty? We're raw packing. Means we're not going to cook these first. We're going to stick them into the jar. We're going to leave about 1 inch of head space, which is just open air at the top. And we're going to cover it and we'll fill it all the way up to the top with boiling water. So in with the beans. Just stuff them in there, Get lots of beans in there. And when it's full, you still see me? There we go. Is that a little bit better? Take your boiling water. Alright, it's full. I've got my head space in there, and I'm going to use this tool here to take the bubbles out of the jar. So you run this tool along the outside edge and kind of push inward a little bit, get the bubbles out from the middle of the jar. You can see the bubble, you probably can't from there, but I can see the bubbles flittering up to the top of the jar here. Alright, shove those back down in there. And you're going to want to clean your rim. Paper towel, wet, dry, doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure that there's no food left on your rim. And even if you can't visibly see any food on your rim, wipe it down anyway. Because if you don't get a really good seal on your lid, then your food can't be stored. You just have to eat it right away. And that kind of defeats the purpose, right? Alright, my lid is on, then you're going to screw on your ring. And, of course, as always, I didn't bring my mitt out. And just finger tight is fine. And then you're going to grab it with your tool, like so, and pop it right into your pressure canner. And on to the next one we go. We got a full canner of green beans. I am super excited. One thing I wanted to show you before we move on is I had to empty this glass here, this pint-and-a-half jar. Normally when I sterilize my jars, I run my finger around the rim to check for any cracks, because if there's any cracks in the glass or any chips at all in your rim, you won't get a good tight seal with your lid, and that will cause your food to spoil. And I just wanted to show you here, if you can see, there is a crack, a tiny, tiny little chip right there that I didn't notice until I was cleaning the rim. So that's another advantage too of, you know, cleaning the rim. The paper towel that I was using got stuck on it, and so it was really obvious to me. So anyway, little sidetrack there. The next step is to crank this heat up all the way on high. Now the entire time I've been processing these jars, getting the beans in, I've had the temperature up probably at about medium high. It takes a while for the canner to get hot, and I like it to be ready to go. And then you're going to put your lid on. You're going to check, make sure that it's clean, you know, read your pamphlet for your canner, and pop me a question in the comments if you have any questions about my particular canner or anything like that. Happy to answer any questions you have. So, got the heat on high, going to put the lid on. And for now, we wait. It needs to get to a full rolling boil, and once the steam starts to escape, you'll be able to see it and hear it. Don't put your hand over it to check, okay? Just use your ears and your eyes only. Once it gets to a full rolling boil and the steam is starting to exhaust out, you're going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and you're just going to let it pump that steam out for 10 minutes. Once the 10-minute timer has gone off, you're going to put your rocker on if you have my kind of a canner. Now there's lots of different pressure canners out there, so this part of the tutorial might not apply to you. But you'll put it on the top here, and you'll keep an eye on your pressure gauge. This batch needs to be pressure canned at 11 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes. So that's quarts and pint-and-a-half jars are the 25 minutes, and I am below 2,000 feet above sea level, so I'm at like 450 or something. So I don't need to adjust mine. And depending on where you live, you may need to adjust your time as well, or if you're using pint jars, it will be less. So for this canner, it would be 20 minutes for pint jars, but we're doing 25 minutes because they're pint-and-a-half jars. One thing I forgot to mention, on your pressure gauge, when it gets up to the pressure called for in your recipe, you're going to want to keep an eye on it, adjust your temperature down so that it stays right where it's supposed to be for your recipe. If it falls below the pressure indicated on your recipe, you will have to restart your time. So keep an eye on it. Timer just went off. We are solidly at 11 pounds of pressure, just as the recipe called for. And you can see here, that means you cannot open the lid. What we will do, however, is just take this right off of the stove. When this button pops down, which it will when the pressure is released, when this pressure gauge goes all the way to 0 and this button has popped down, we'll take the rocker off and we'll wait an additional 10 minutes before we open the canner and see what we've got. As you can see, the pressure gauge has gone down to 0. The tab has gone down. So we're going to go ahead and use a mitt and take the rocker off. And we're going to let this sit for 10 minutes. Pressure canner is all cooled off now. Open it up. Try to open away from your face in case there's any steam inside. And grab your handy dandy jar lifter and just pick them up out of the canner. and place onto the towel. Once you have removed all of your jars from your canner, you're going to want to let them rest for 12 to 24 hours. After that point, you'll want to remove the rings and clean the lids. Once your jars are clean, go ahead and label them if you feel like it, and make sure you put a date on the top. These lids, they can't be reused anyway, so just go ahead and pop the date that you processed them on there. So if you sell them, or you know, have them stuck in the back of your pantry, or you give them to a loved one, they know when you processed it. These lids are guaranteed to be good and effective for 18 months. And you really just want to know, trust me when I tell you, you will forget. You'll be like, oh, this looks good. When did I make it? Was it 6 months ago? Or was it 4 years ago? That's right, just put the date on, you'll never have to wonder. Thanks so much for making French green beans with me today. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. I would be much appreciative. And I hope you're doing great. Bye!